Good evening, everyone, from a very, very cold and very, very snowy Burlington, Vermont. It is Thursday, and since we last sort of went over it, there have been a lot of things happening in college basketball. It is championship week. There have been conference tournament games galore. Lots of very important games going on right now with the ACC tournament going on, as well as the SEC, the Big 12, the American tournament gets going today. But first off, some of the smaller conferences. We have some of the automatic bids that have been clinched over the past couple days that include the College of Charleston out of the Colonial Athletic, Wright State out of the Horizon League, the Iona out of the MAAC, Loyola Chicago out of the Missouri Valley, LIU Brooklyn out of the Northeast, Bucknell out of the Patriot League, UNC Greensboro out of the SoCon, South Dakota State out of the Summit League, and in a sort of not really needing the auto bid to get in game, Gonzaga is the champion of the West Coast Conference. However, there was a bid stealing opportunity there because they were playing BYU. BYU beat St. Mary's in the semifinals. So there was some potential upset possibilities there. So those are the good. Now for the bad. The bad is for two teams that started off the year so hot, so on top of the world, and have crashed and burned since. First out of the Big 12, Oklahoma. What is going on with that team? They were up to number 4 in the country, and they've in their either 4-10 in their last 14 or 4-14 in their last 18. They were great going into conference play, and since conference play have just tanked. They do have some very good non-conference wins in TCU and Wichita State, but a loss to Oklahoma State in the Big 12 tournament last night, I think should knock them out and put maybe Oklahoma State in. Now, Oklahoma State just, as of this recording, just lost to Kansas, which is the third meeting between those teams, and Oklahoma State won the first two, but Kansas gets revenge in this one. And then the other is Arizona State. Arizona State was one of the surprises as to how fantastic and just on top of the world they were at the start of the year. I think they got up to number 2. I don't know if they got up to number 1. I think they got fairly close early on, if I remember. I'd have to go way back and check the rankings, but they have been extraordinarily bad in what is not a very good Pac-12. And they lost their tournament game last night. I think it was to Oregon, who was very run-of-the-mill, very average. Outside of really Arizona, the Pac-12 has not been very good this year. It's been a down year for them. And the fact that Arizona was as good as they were and have just tanked as much as they have, they're a bubble team that I feel also should be on the outside looking in. Now, today we've had a lot of quarterfinal games and a lot of teams picking up some big wins. Kansas State beat TCU in overtime. The SEC tournament has been fantastic so far today. Alabama beats Texas A&M on a buzzer beater, and who doesn't love a good buzzer beater in college basketball, especially this week when all these games matter for all these major bubble teams. And Alabama is one team that is teetering right on the edge there, where if they won today off their buzzer beater, because of that, you look at their resume compared to an Oklahoma, compared to an Arizona State, and advancing in your conference tournament right now is, I would like to think, puts you maybe on another tier above. And right now, with as of this recording, Georgia and Missouri are in a 1 point game. Michael Porter Jr. is playing. He was cleared to play before the tournament and has, from what I've seen, he's been a little hit and miss. But if you haven't played any major college basketball in a year, I'd expect rust. But that's a game right there featuring Missouri, who's looking at being right on the bubble. And I think Georgia is one of those teams that would have to win out to get into the tournament. But we are only a few days away until Selection Sunday, and some big bubble games happening in the SEC. Now, real quickly, let me switch over to the ACC, because the ACC has also had some very important games today. There we go. All right, so Clemson knocks out Boston College. Clemson was already in. Boston College made a cute little run over the past couple days. That comes to an end. But the important game is Virginia and Louisville. Louisville was, I believe, listed as one of the last 4 teams in. They played Virginia close for a little bit, but that Virginia defense just shuts teams down. Louisville scores only 58 points, loses the game against Virginia. I think they're in. I think they've got some quality wins. The most important thing, and from what I remember looking at Louisville's resumes, there's not really a bad loss on that schedule, and I take as much stock into who you lose to as much as who you beat. Quality wins are great, but I think a really bad loss can hurt you more than a great win can always help you. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but sort of like UNC. UNC lost a game to a cupcake school earlier this year, and I'm surprised that actually hasn't come back to hurt them a little bit. Back this weekend, I thought after Duke beat them, when I thought Cincinnati clinched their American Athletic Conference game regular season, I thought Cincinnati would jump up to a 2 in place of UNC. I thought UNC was going to drop a little bit. But as it is, Cincinnati did move up to a 2 while replacing Michigan State, who I felt had a if you could call it a better loss. It was a better loss. But we'll see how UNC does in the tournament. They get Miami tonight. The game that I'm going to be really watching is going to be Duke and Notre Dame. Notre Dame is the bubble team to watch right now. They've played a lot of their regular season with one of their star players hurt. He's back now, and they've looked a lot better. And they get a very, 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 very good Duke team, but also a Duke team that I've seen every once in a while. They play a game against a team that you know they should beat, and they play down a little bit. It's always been one of the things with Duke. Duke has never always just blown teams away all the time, but they will most of the time. Yeah, I'm showing favoritism. Sue me. But I'm rooting for Notre Dame. We'll see. I think the tournament committee likes it when a big school like Notre Dame makes it. And if they can knock off Duke tonight, who's to say that they are more or less deserving than Oklahoma and Arizona State the way they've played? But we'll see. We're only a few days away from Selection Sunday. How's your team doing in the bracket? Let me know in the comments below. And until next time, cheers.